We're about to begin the service. Mrs. Rosalind L. Feingold. We want to welcome everyone here at the chapel as well as the people that are viewing the service remotely. For those of you here at the chapel, if you have a cell phone with you, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off completely. That would be appreciated. The service this afternoon will be conducted by Rabbi Gidon Isaacs from Temple Beit Shalom in Munster, Indiana.
Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. You who heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds, grant comfort and consolation to these mourners as they face their grief. Fill their lives with the acts of loving kindness and truth, which serve as the genuine memorial to our dear Rosalind. The deep bond of love will remain unbroken. Welcome and thank you for being here today as we gather in the spirit of love, memory, and community to honor the life of Rosalind Louise Feingold. Today we come together to celebrate the unique and sacred journey of a life well lived, and to pay tribute to a woman who touched so many in such meaningful ways. We also gather to comfort the mourners. Daughter Susan Feingold Carlson and husband Douglas, son-in-law Mark Schwartz, her grandchildren Robert Schwartz, his wife Shana, David Carlson and fiancée Sarah Godhelf, and Elizabeth Carlson, and great-granddaughter Lily Schwartz, as well to acknowledge that Rosalind was preceded in death by her daughter, Leslie Schwartz. May this service bring comfort to them and to all who mourn this great loss. We recite the 23rd Psalm in this difficult time. The moving imagery we find there of our loved one being tended lovingly by a shepherd brings us comfort. We come to see that in our lives, and even after, we are each of us sheep needing tending, but we are also shepherds, shepherding each other's souls. What does it mean to shepherd a soul? A shepherd doesn't drive from behind, but walks with the flock, guiding, protecting, nourishing, and making sure none are lost or left behind. To shepherd a soul is to walk beside someone in love and deep relation, helping them find their path, their peace, and their place in the world. To shepherd a soul means to recognize each individual's unique journey, their vulnerabilities, fears, and potential, at times to lead gently, to nourish with wisdom, provide stillness when needed, lead me beside still waters, and restore dignity when it has been worn down. In the words of the psalm, restore my soul. As a loved one moves on through the valley of the shadow of death to the next phase of existence, a place beyond physical dimension, we express the belief with this psalm that they are still never alone. They are touched by the shepherd within us, and they are guided by an endless presence, a shepherd that we might call life, vitality, connection, the universe, or, in the words of the psalmist, the shepherd who is Adonai, God. I will chant the 23rd Psalm. Nizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binot eshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot inaleni. Nafshi shovev, nafshi shovev, yancheni b'mangli tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech בגט מוות לא ירדה כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמן ראשי כוסי רביה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Reading inspired by Rosalind in the way, as we will hear, that she went through the world, in the way she cared for others, in the way that she spread such warmth, affection, and love. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So, when all that's left of me is love, give me away. I want to invite those who knew and loved her best to speak of Rosalind, beginning with grandson Robert Schwartz.
Today, we pay tribute to Rosalind Feingold, devoted daughter of Jacob and Dora, supportive spouse to Eugene, model mother to Susan and Leslie, and the most nurturing nanny to David, Elizabeth, and myself. As her obituary noted, Nanny loved outfitting her family, and she found great joy in indulging her grandchildren and her great-grandchild by expressing her love in its most tangible form. Trips to Munster or the country club often began and ended with hugs and kisses, but they always included a token of her affection, whether it was that impossible-to-find Beanie Baby, the newest Game Boy game, or as I grew older, my preferred present, that special green paper with Mr. Washington, Mr. Jefferson, and yes, on occasion, even Mr. Franklin's face on it. And yes, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Nanny also loved your play about Mr. Hamilton, along with the many other musicals that Nanny liked and we went to, including Jersey Boys and Dirty Dancing, as we attended downtown in Chicago as a family. But more than any present, piece of jewelry, or a physical item that Nanny owned, her most cherished possession was her family. This won't come as a shock to anyone in this room or anyone that's watching on the live stream, some family back home for me, but I was a pretty big nerd in high school. I still am. I'm talking Friday nights on the couch watching the latest Law & Order SVU episode with my parents. Yet, there was that one time when I got invited to a party at a friend's house, and I may have stayed out a little bit past my curfew. And I can tell you, I heard all about it from my mother when I got home. But you know who my mom heard from? It was Nanny with a reassuring message that simply said, "Leslie, he's a good kid. He's home now. Everything is going to be okay." The most protective matriarch of this family always worried about others. But when others were worried, she always stayed calm, knew what to say and when to say it. And if that's not love, I don't know what is. Nanny also had some very strong opinions, and she was never shy about sharing them. When I was young, it was the latest country club gossip. And as I got older, politics became her favorite stage, a passion we shared. Some of my favorite, fondest memories are of calling her and Pop at home in Munster, only for Pop to pick up that very squeaky-sounding phone that they had in their living room and say, "Hold on, 1 minute while I put on your Nanny." Then Nanny would pick up the other landline in another room, and I'd be instantly drowned out by Rachel Maddow blasting the latest Democratic talking points in the background. As she grew older, Nanny grew more liberal, with lines like, "When are they going to get rid of that guy?" And yes, we all know who she was talking about. I would temper her expectations with my more moderate perspective, saying, "Unfortunately, Nanny, I don't think it's going to be that easy." And in that playful, back and forth phone call, we always had the most wonderful time, talking about life, politics, and simply bonding as grandson and grandmother. For Nanny, bonding with her grandchildren meant spending quality time with them. I fondly recall many, many trips to Northbrook Court to get outfitted for the upcoming school year and riding with her in a golf cart at Ravislow. But it's one particular bonding experience, one that didn't work out so well, that might be my all-time favorite. It truly demonstrates how much love Nanny had for her family and how she would stand up for them at a moment's notice. The setting was French Lick, Indiana, home to the French Lick Resort and Casino. We had gone as an entire family to celebrate Nanny and Pop's 55th wedding anniversary. And all I wanted to do was see Larry Bird's boyhood home and gamble at the casino. Well, Larry Bird's home was off-site, so we had to settle for a Larry Bird-themed McDonald's that we had lunch at. And I was 20 years old, which meant no casino for me. But Nanny would not be deterred. Stepping up to the casino entrance and facing a security guard with muscles bigger than my head, Nanny looked this man in the eyes and said, "This is my sweet grandson. I will be with him the whole time. I think you should let him in." Security, looking down at all 5'3" Nanny, said, "No." French Lick Casino 1, Nanny 0. But in my book, we all know who really won in life. And that was me and Nanny, because I got to spend 39 wonderful years with her. Nanny, wherever you are, I am sure you're enjoying one of the biggest pieces of pie, one that probably rivals the 3 that you ordered at Colonial Williamsburg many years ago. Shana, Lily, and I love you and miss you so much already. Please send all our love to Pop and Mom and know what a truly special person you were to us all. We love you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite grandson David Carlson.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is David Carlson. I am Doug and Sue Carlson's son. I am Elizabeth Carlson's brother, Robert Schwartz's first cousin, one of Rosalind and Jean Feingold's grandsons, my Nanny and Pop. And my middle name is Jacob, after Nanny's father, Jacob Frumkin. I am by no means an expert in vocabulary, but I am a good judge of people and how to best describe them. I was having trouble coming up with one word to best describe Nanny, so I went to the internet and I found it. Given Nanny's nature, I was not surprised that this word is complex, profound, and one that I had never until earlier this week read on paper or heard said out loud. The word is simhedonia. At first I thought it was Hebrew, but it actually has Greek origins. Sim meaning together, and hedon meaning delight. It refers simply to the experience of pleasure in another person's happiness or vicarious joy. This is Nanny. When others are happy, so is she. To have this kind of attitude, you have to love being around people. Nanny is a high-class yenta and thrived in all of her social arenas, including everything from the many local small businesses in Munster to the dining room at Ravislow Country Club, where all the magic really happened. Picture a crowded set of round tables at the dinner hour in the summer, each table hosting a separate Jewish family. Nanny could barely get her first sip of Diet Coke in before no less than 10 of her peers, both men and women, would approach and compliment her on her outfit, her hair, her makeup, and most importantly, how adorable her grandchildren looked sitting right next to her. What made these moments extra special for me was that she took her spotlight and shined it on me. By the end of that night, everyone knew about the great drive I had on the 7th hole that afternoon. In addition to natural compassion, Nanny is a savage, she's a savvy investor, not just in the stock market, but in the people around her. She invested in Pop by marrying him in their early 20s and moving from the East Coast to the Midwest. She invested in me when she became an instant fan of Michigan football and basketball after I graduated from school. And when I was given the opportunity to work at IBM as my first full-time company out of college, I was on the fence as to whether taking that job was right for me at the time. She implored me to do the following: follow the money, save it strategically, work really hard, don't sell myself short, and good things will happen. And she was right. Nanny is a lifelong learner and very coachable. Even into her late 80s and early 90s, she was an avid student of technology. Some of my favorite memories with her were sitting at her desk and guiding her on how to use her favorite iPad apps. She learned by trial and error, became proficient, and soon enough, many boxes of clothing purchased online showed up in my parents' front door. My favorite part about Nanny is how sentimental she is. Her life is preserved in photo albums, letters, and priceless collections of small, fragile objects that fill her home to this day, each with a story behind them. They add to her elegance and her class. All of these attributes I mentioned are her legacy that she passed down to me, ones that I'm so incredibly proud to call my own. I'm an introverted extrovert by nature, but she helped a shy kid turn into a confident young man that values personal relationships. She set an example that's incredibly fulfilling, that it's incredibly fulfilling to be able to give her children the same or better opportunities in life that she had. And I strive toward that goal every day. She made me a collector, but not a hoarder, because a clean, approachable, and warm house is worth the memories that you make in them. I have this theory that our loved ones that are no longer with us are living peacefully together so that they can watch over all of us and make sure that we are safe. In other words, they never truly leave us. They gather in what I call my protector's place, along with many of Nanny's friends and family members. My pop and Aunt Leslie recently welcomed Nanny there. And when she arrived, I'm very confident that she was just as magnetic as she always has been. Nanny, thank you for being proud of me and for protecting me. I'm proud to be your grandson, and I promise to continue to follow in your footsteps.
Next, I'd like to invite granddaughter Elizabeth Carlson.
My nanny was fabulous. She had an astute eye for a fashionable outfit and always knew what accessories to pair with it. Frankly, I was mad that she couldn't help me put together my outfit for today. Nanny and Mom and I would have spent not an insignificant amount of time trying different options until we landed on just the right one. I hope I did okay. One thing I inherited from Nanny was a love for finer things. This developed early on when Nanny let me watch and eventually assist in putting on her makeup. She would sit in front of her vanity as I pulled up a chair next to her. We'd go through the products she was using, there were many, the right brush for each application, and how to create a cohesive look. I felt, and I was, learning from the expert. These times with her were so fun. Her thoughtfulness and patience in explaining something so mundane made me feel like I was the center of her world. This special one-on-one time went far beyond teaching me about makeup. She was teaching me the most powerful and ancient lesson of all, how to love. In truth, the almost 29 years I had with Nanny was a masterclass in how to love. I'd like to share some of the things she taught me. Number 1, be fiercely loyal even when it's inconvenient. When I was about 10, Nanny and I were picking up some items from the cleaners. While we were waiting, I started playing with a tray of pins on the counter. The lady helping us scolded me, to which Nanny calmly responded, "She's not hurting anybody." After a quick back and forth between them, Nanny turned to me and said, "Elizabeth, please go wait outside with Pop." When she returned, Nanny announced that she would never be going back to that cleaners again. Even though I arguably was doing something wrong, I gotta say, it was pretty badass. She liked that cleaners, but she loved me more. Number 2, make the most of the time you have together. Starting in high school, I got into the routine of calling Nanny on my own whenever I had something to report, which was often. She would pick up the phone and pepper me with questions about anything and everything. The classes I was taking, my plans for the summer, my friends, you name it. When Nanny and Pop came to live with my parents, I often stayed over just to have more time with them. Nanny and I sometimes talked for hours. She would recount stories of growing up in Hazleton, her experience juggling many suitors while only having eyes for Pop, and our Meshuggah president. Nanny was not just my grandmother, but also one of my best friends and closest confidants. I will forever be grateful for the time that I was able to spend with her. Number 3, don't be afraid to be affectionate. Nobody gave a better hug than Nanny, period. As her body and hands failed her, her ability to grab you into a chokehold and hang on tight never did. The memory of that iron grip will be everlasting. Number 4, number 4, love myself. Nanny was a confidence boost in human form. When I walked into her room, she would smile broadly and enthusiastically say, "Cute outfit, honey," and then look at my mom to inquire if she had that outfit too. The ultimate cheerleader, she always had words of encouragement like, "You can be the CEO of that company one day." When I reminded her that my company has over 350,000 employees, she replied without a beat, "You can do it." Nanny taught me to never stop believing in myself, regardless of the odds. Number 5, find the right person to share your life with and love them deeply. When talking about the characteristics I should look for in a husband, she instructed, find someone you love more than you love yourself. At first, I didn't really get it. Why should I put a man's needs before my own? It wasn't until I met Joe that I finally understood. She didn't want me to sacrifice my identity for another person, but rather to find a person who also loved me more than they loved themselves, so that even in hard times, we could set our egos aside and put the other person first. Nanny and Pop embodied that lesson for over 71 years. Nanny adored Joe. "He's perfect," she would say. And it made me so happy that Nanny and Pop lived to see me fall in love with my future life partner. Now, as I put my makeup on in the morning, I will be reminded each day of the lessons my Nanny taught me and the love she bestowed upon me. When I look in the mirror, I'll hope to recognize something that resembles her. I'll be especially satisfied if I'm even a tenth as fabulous as she was. Love you, Nanny, forever and ever.
I'd like to invite daughter Sue Carlson.
Thank you so much for joining us today to celebrate Mom's life. Growing up, it was clear that Granky, Mom's mom, was the matriarch of the family. She had essentially raised her 2 younger brothers and devoted her life to raising her 6 children. Strong but quiet, Granky commanded the respect of all of them. I can still picture her sitting in a high-backed chair in the corner of her living room, receiving her children and grandchildren who came to say hello, check on her, and especially in the case of her daughters, report on the events of their day. Mom was the matriarch of our Midwest clan, but she was much more of a mama bear than a matriarch. She was fiercely protective, not just of Leslie and me, and later our children, but also of Dad, very much Dad, and everyone else she cared about. Her mama bear nature played out in ways you might expect, like when she reprimanded the sales clerk at Marshall Fields for failing to wait on 6-year-old me when I tried to make a purchase on my own, or when she marched into school or called another parent if she thought Leslie or I had been wronged in some way. As we got older, Mom continued to be on call whenever we needed anything. Not just any mother would buy, wash, and send her 24-year-old daughter a whole new set of underwear by overnight mail after it was stolen from the laundromat during law school finals. On a much more serious note, Mom was, in Leslie's words, the only one who really gave her hope during her battle with pancreatic cancer. Mom didn't like to be the center of attention. She quietly but firmly promoted her family. Yet while she preferred to shine the light on all of us, the light could not help but shine on her. She walked gracefully, held her head high, and smiled at everyone she passed. She was a listener, not a talker, and made everyone feel at ease. All in all, she was a class act. Mom firmly believed that the very young and the very old were often not treated with the kind of respect they deserved. That mindset was manifest in the empathy she had for others. Childhood friends have shared just how kind Mom was when we were growing up, that she made them feel like they mattered, or that she just got them. Mom did hold firm beliefs about some everyday matters that were unique. In the world according to Mom, for example, you must move on a Tuesday or a Friday. It's not just a superstition, it's Jewish law. An outfit should have 3 pieces. Anything else looks incomplete. When you're a grandmother, you must buy the rocking chair because the grandmother who buys the rocker is the grandchild's favorite. Kathy, Linda, I'm staking my claim. It's a good idea to find something you like to collect. Elephants make a good collectible, but only the ones with a trunk up because those bring good luck. It's important to write a nice note, to thank someone, to express sympathy. The note should be meaningful and not just a line or 2. I've been giving a lot of thought to this last one lately. In looking through items from Mom and Dad's house earlier this week, we came across several boxes of letters written to and from Leslie and me, principally during our college years. I was reminded that in the days before emails, cell phones, and text messages, we communicated routinely through letters. Long-distance phone calls were just too expensive. I received a long letter from Mom in my college mailbox at least once a week. I looked forward to all of them. Letter writing, though it seems, has become a lost art. In tribute to Mom, I've written one last letter to her, which I'd like to share with you. Dearest Mama, as I suspected, my life is just not the same without you in it. I find myself walking to your room on reflex, checking to see how you're doing. It's so quiet without MSNBC, Jane Pauley, or Jeopardy playing on the iPad. We often spoke of how much you miss Dad, Leslie, your parents, and your brothers and sisters, about the prospect of your seeing them again, and what lies on the other side after our time on Earth is over. I hope you've been reunited with Dad, as you've always belonged together. Either way, as you taught me, your troubles are over now. You are at peace, and that brings me much comfort. Thank you, Mom, for always having my back. Thank you for always trying to convince me that I was the best at just about everything, even though I knew it wasn't true. The fact that you believed in me was all that mattered. Thank you for teaching me to have confidence in my convictions, to advocate for myself, and not to let anyone convince me to do anything I didn't want to do. That being popular is overrated, being yourself is the key. Thank you for always taking the time to listen and making me feel like everything I had to say was interesting and important, even when it wasn't. It's a true sign of your unwavering love. I'm quite certain that you're the one and only person who will ever make that kind of time for me. You were and always will be the best mother. Thanks for being mine. I will miss our evening talks. I will miss your eye for knowing just what alterations will improve the fit of my clothes. I will miss your strong hugs. I will miss all your thoughtful edits. I needed them today. Most of all, I'll just miss you. All of us will. All my love, Sue. Mom established a legacy of love, commitment, and class. She will live on in me, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. Mom and Dad certainly were the greatest generation. I just hope we all live up to the example they set and make them proud. Rest easy, Mommy. I love you with all my heart, and then some.
It's hard to do justice fully to someone who lived a life as full, as long, and as good as Rosalind did, and the deep honor of being able to hear so many stories from the family, and I really appreciate. And I'll do my best to do her justice, but in particular, I want to offer Jewish lens, kind of seeing Rosalind through eternal values and seeing the kind of figure, role model, and heroine that she was. It's customary to look to the 5 books of Moses, our sacred Torah, to help us talk about the life of the one we've lost. We focus on the sections of the Torah, the portions that are read in synagogue on the Sabbath, the Shabbat, around the time of our loved one's passing. The stories we find lift up our spirits as we see the qualities of our biblical heroes reflected in our loved ones. We find surprising connections in these portions that make us feel that there is something beschert, as we say in Yiddish, meant to be in this timing. These beschert connections give us a sense of comfort that there is some rhyme or reason to their passing now of all times. Both the portions from last week when Roz passed and this week have much to say about this incredible woman. They are both found in the book of Exodus. In this week's portion, Yitro, we find the Israelites just after their miraculous escape from Egypt into freedom. Moses' father-in-law, Yitro, Jethro, brings his daughter and her 2 sons to be reunited with her husband, Moses. Moses' wife does not play a crucial role in this portion. She's not even mentioned by name. We know from the story of their meeting and marriage, which took place earlier in Exodus, that his wife's name is Tzipporah. Tzipporah does not feature prominently in the Torah, but when she does appear, we can see that our beloved Rosalind shares a great deal in common with her, starting right here with this week's portion. I'll say, slightly tongue-in-cheek, that we might think that her absence from the company of Moses and the Israelites might be looked at as one way to maintain some of the mystery, some of that hard-to-get feeling that Rosalind cultivated and taught others. Yes, she pursued Eugene from an age earlier than is even possible to believe, but he never knew it. She always kept him guessing. As her mother, Dora, said, "You know, Jean, she has other suitors." But in all seriousness, Tzipporah appears now at this time in the story because without her, Moses cannot go on. The greatest leader the Jewish people have known cannot continue to lead his people without his wife at his side. We can imagine further that she is unnamed here in this portion as a reflection of her own need for attention. She does not need the spotlight. It's okay if she's not even named, as long as she can be there for her beloved Moses. That we know her name speaks to her captivating quality. We want to know who this vital presence is, so we go searching earlier in the book to find it. And when we find that her name is Tzipporah, we are struck by this word, which means a female bird. Here, our rabbinic tradition fills in the blanks, explaining why this was her name. Like a bird, they say, Tzipporah was beautiful in person and in deed. She flew high, giving her great vision and foresight. Those who knew Rosalind will find these qualities exceedingly familiar. As we've heard, Roz was happy to stay out of the limelight. Even being told by her daughter, "You're my hero," she would deflect. Why? What have I done? Just little old me. Any of that light that may have come her way, she simply redirected it to shine on those she loved, most of all, Eugene. While Jean was out caring for the town of Munster as its legal counsel, while he was helping anyone he knew and cared for with his intelligence, legal knowledge, resources, and connections, Rosalind cared for him. And of course, the reverse was true as well. She took care of all of those that mattered to her, and she cast a wide net, while Jean, in turn, took care of her. While she may have successfully redirected the light to shine on others, like a beautiful songbird, her presence shone so that people were drawn to her. She was a beautiful sight to behold. She came by it honestly. Her father was in the garment business. The youngest of 6 siblings, each one of her older siblings had been named best dressed in their high school yearbook, and she continued the tradition. Even at the end of her life, when going out came to mean not dinner and theater out on the town, but rather doctor's appointments, those appointments were still occasions to get her hair done. Her magnetic presence was more than surface beauty. Like a bird, she moved with gentleness and grace, not just physically, but in her treatment of others. She was curious, and once she was engaged, she shared your passions. If Jean was an extroverted introvert, just as apt to chat with the stranger at the table next to them, but also happiest sitting at home with a book, Roz was the opposite. She loved people. She took them in, their interests, their worries and concerns, their triumphs. And for those who entered her inner circle, it went even further. Your interests became her interest. She'd do whatever you wanted to do just so she could spend time with you. Whether that was going to the rodeo, yes, the rodeo with her father Jacob as a young girl, or creating her own March Madness bracket, but proudly rooting for Michigan, thanks to David. She was truly beautiful in deeds. There are said to be 5 love languages, and as her family would attest, she was adept at them all. Conscientious, she held herself to the highest standard. She would not rest until that letter was written, the party was carried off to perfection. The hottest, most hard-to-get beanie baby was found, or the perfect gift was purchased, that one that let you know that you were seen. Sometimes the gifts themselves also brought additional blessings, such as when she'd go through her closet with Elizabeth, telling the stories of jewelry or clothes, how she came to own them, precious time together. And then now and then, appreciating how it looked, she'd say, "Here, you take it." Now, not only was the gift the item itself, but it was the memory of the time they spent together. Like a bird, with their spectacular vision seen from a height far ahead, she was always seeing ahead, keeping up with the times, whether that was fashion, like when she bought bell-bottoms for her daughters, who were maybe not as keyed into the style of the 70s, or as we heard, technology, scrolling away with her stylus on her iPad, texting, undeterred by texts that might be sent all in caps or with random emojis or even just blank bubbles. She was reaching out, and the message was received, and the connection was what was important. Even staying abreast of pop culture, she watched the Taylor Swift documentary twice with deep appreciation, like many 70 years her junior. And she declared, "That Taylor Smith, she sure is talented." Also, like Zipporah and Moses, they traveled far to take on the life that was destined to be theirs. Her homeland was left far behind, throwing in her lot with beloved Moses. They hit the road, living life on the desert, in the desert, even rougher than moving to the Midwest. And we must imagine how she missed her family, the way that Rosalind did. But just as Moses and Zipporah built a new nation, a community, all their own, Rosalind and Eugene did the same. Everywhere they went, building circles of friends, new families. There's one other huge similarity that cannot be discounted. Many of you hopefully know the legendary story of how she picked out Eugene as her beshert, her meant to be. As a first grader, she looked out her window to see the adorable curly-haired crossing guard in his outfit. There he was, this position of authority, control, and safety, guiding children and families across the road. We can't help but wonder at the similarity to Zipporah, who herself picked a man, Moses, who would ultimately become the most famous, holy, and revered crossing guard in history. Moses, who guided his people to cross the dry sea of reeds to safety. I want to touch on this week's portion, which intersects with another part of Rosalind's life, a more challenging one. In this week, Mishpatim, the laws, we read of collections of law after law, civil and criminal. And as we read them, our mind realizes that this is a people who is worrying about, fully aware of all the worst case scenarios life might present. An ox that gores, a pit that is dug that someone falls into, a house that is built with a second floor but no protection where one might easily fall. We can see all the worries that life sends our way. And we're aware, anyone who knew Rosalind, that she worried. As she'd say, she encountered the first 29 years of her life, smooth sailing, no worry. But from then, first marked by the loss of her beloved oldest sister to cancer at a young age, and then years later, in quick 18-month sequence, another sister, her mother, a brother, and then finally, the most terrible loss one a parent should never have to endure. She lost her own beloved daughter, Leslie, to cancer. It's no wonder that she should carry worry. Like this week's portion, it's as if a catalog of worst case scenarios went through her head. But this did not impair her life. First, her foresight once again. All of these worst case scenarios are also the foundation for Jewish law. She found herself a good Jewish lawyer to navigate these situations. And these laws come because they help us not to be torn down by the worst that life can throw at us, to expect it and to know how to deal. She greeted, as we heard, Leslie's diagnosis with equanimity, optimism. She held Leslie up, never showing her own concern, always looking for the best. It's why when Leslie passed, she ultimately did fall apart for a time because she had just held herself together, held Leslie up. And what is most notable for someone who did endure the knocks that life had to give, some of the worst. Some might withdraw, might learn that lesson from that first loss, that it's just too much. It's not worth it. Better to withdraw and protect yourself, not Rosalind. She took it as a sign to give more. She took that awareness of how quickly life can go as a reason to savor every moment and to invest fully in everyone she loved, to love, as we heard, fiercely and without restraint. I'm also drawn to this week's portion because as I read, I found a few verses that really spoke to all of what I had been told about Rosalind. The Torah says, quotes God, saying, "I am sending an angel before you to guide you on the way. If you obey him and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foe. Woe betide the foe to Rosalind, who crossed those who she is guarding and protecting." And what an amazing job she did, just shy of 96 years, and leaving a legacy to all those who knew her, who could now go out and be that same angel to the people who they love. She's taught them well, given them strength, shown them how it's done with love and with humor. And for that, her memory will truly always be a blessing. As the family has said to me, the one thing Roz would always want is not for you to worry, to know that she's okay in any situation. And the most important thing was for you to be okay, knowing that. And for that reason, speaking with the family who wanted to honor her in song, in prayer, and chose the prayer and also song of peace, Shalom Rav, to offer that prayer for peace to the family, to all of you. I invite you, if you know this prayer, to please join with me in song. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, mechol et uvechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people, Israel, and all the people of earth with peace. Amen. We conclude our service with the prayer, El Maleh Rachamim. In that prayer, we express the hope that the one we have lost will stay bound up forever in the bonds of life, that they will be with us always. Our prayers are not words that are like magic spells that we utter and hope that they will come true. In our tradition, our words are our mission statements. They tell us what to do and how to do it. And so as we utter this hope, this wish that Rosalind will always be in our lives, we can bring it to fruition by sharing stories after the service, when we gather our meal, whenever we come together. As we share those stories, her life will be bound up in this world of the living, and as well, her memory will always be for a blessing as those stories instill the lessons that she chose to impart with her actions and the sheer memory of her presence, that alone will be a blessing as well. The words of El Maleh Rachamim are as follows in English: Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure who shine with the splendor of the heavens, to the soul of our dear Rosalind, who has gone to her eternal home. God of mercy, remember all her worthy deeds in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May her memory always inspire us to attain dignity and holiness in life. May she rest in peace. As you are able, I invite you to rise as I chant El Maleh Rachamim.
El Maleh Rachamim שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. אם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזכירים את נשמת רחליה בת יעקב ודורה שלחה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר, and we say, Amen.
Just a few brief announcements. The entombment will be the family only at Memorial Park, but everyone is welcome to go right into the Shiva room, which is right across the hall. The family will be receiving people until 7 p.m., but please, we encourage everyone to go in. Don't wait for the family. Go in and have something to eat. The family will join you within a half an hour. Okay. And the family has also requested memorial contributions to the Leslie F. Schwartz Pancreatic Cancer Research Foundation. The information on that foundation is listed in the service folder you received. For those of you viewing the service remotely, that information is on the Chicago Jewish Funerals website. The following people will be serving as pallbearers this afternoon. As I call your name, please step forward and stand by the casket. Doug Carlson, David Carlson, Elizabeth Carlson, Robert Schwartz, Joseph Lieberman, and Sarah Godhelf.